Very good morning. I bid to the honorable panels of educators, accurate timekeeper, members of the side of opposition, and members of the floor. The burden coming from this side of today's debate is that, pardon, the burden coming from us today is to justify why we choose to retain the freedom of speech from individuals who deny man-made climate change, and the burden to opposition team is to show us how they are able to keep doubts out of individuals on climate change. Now, let's start with a definition. Climate change refers to a change in global original climate patterns, in particular a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards and attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. Now, there's a few things I would like to begin with. I will I will present my own arguments against on the motion given, and my deputy will give out their own arguments and rebuttals towards the opposition, and my government whip will support our argument, and will they will uh, rebut the claims made by the opposition team. Okay. Now, my first point would be is that by banning publications made by climate change deniers is that it prevents misinformation to the public. This prevents publishers from claiming that climate change is a hoax or scam, claims that deny long-term environmental trends, and claims that ignore significant climate change factors such as greenhouse gas emissions or humanity's contribution to climate change. While the science around climate change is well understood, misinformation about the phenomena and its causes is still widespread on social media. The nature of the attacks on climate change has changed over time, however, shifting from outright denial that global warming is taking place to attacks on the integrity of climate scientists, along with concerted efforts to undermine climate action. Now, this is the kind of denial we are all used to hearing, that the science of climate change isn't settled. Climate change denialists argue that it is a simple and natural cycle, or that climate models are untrustworthy and overly sensitive to carbon dioxide. Um, I have to rest my case. Thank you.
Timekeepers, maybe instead of showing the time, you can just ring the bell to indicate the first minute, 6 minutes. Is it okay with everyone?
Yes.
All right, I think I prefer that way. It's much more better. All right, thank you for the speech, Prime Minister. I'd like to call upon the opposition leader now. Here.
Am I audible?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thank you. So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's motion, this House would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. We from the opposition side truly disagree with today's motion. First of all, the government side didn't state a solid mechanism on how their side, the government side, will ban any speech and publication that deny the man-made climate change. We from the opposition side, we believe that if we, the government side, we can provide to you what kind of speech and publication that need to be banned. For example, what kind of man-made climate change? Is it something that to that's too only an opinion, not well organized, or have a specific statement, etc. Or what or else. Besides that, they also didn't state any other mechanism which how they will know that is one of the things that deny the man-made climate change itself. So moving on to their point, which is they believe that by banning the publication and speech that deny the man-made climate change, it will prevent misinformation. Their side didn't give any explanation how this at the first place will give misinformation to the public itself, because we opposition side, we believe that this climate change is not fully need to be responsible by the human itself, because you need to know climate change also occur because of the natural phenomena, which is for example volcanic eruption. So, so their statement that by banning any speech and publication will actually prevent the misinformation didn't actually prove their burden, which is prove their burden. So, in our side, the opposition side, we believe that we should not ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. Like what I had already stated before, we need to know climate change is not happen only because the human, and also other natural phenomena. For example, the volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption. So here, our stand is we believe that we need to provide information to anyone or even the society, for example the society as a whole, about the consequence and that surrounding this serious violation of a human itself. So moving on to my first point, which is I believe that speech and publication is the medium to connect with the society, as what related to our stand before. So as here, with the opposition side, we believe that speech and publication is one of the medium that can help the scientists and also other people to connect with the society, to tell them the truth about how this climate change happened. Is it fully blamed to the human itself, or actually there's other things that occur and that which make the climate change happen? So I don't think there is any urgency for the government side to ban the speech and publication that deny the man-made climate change, because we know that it is not fully blamed for the human itself. So when we blame them, when we didn't give any of the author to write or to talk about how they deny man-made, are the one who need to they deny the man-made climate change, we can see that the society itself cannot see the urgency of why we need to combat the climate change. Besides, by not banning any speech and publication deny the man-made climate change itself, they can use it as one of the medium to improvise, since they know that there is also other things that happen that can contribute to the climate change. For example, if an author do a publication about how volcanic eruption can make a climate change happen and worsen the climate change happen, but the government want to ban the speech because they deny that that there's no other things that can cause climate change. So how can other people or the authorities can improvise anything that will happen if the volcanic eruption is the one that conduct to the climate change that happen in the world? So based on my example, you can see that the urgency of banning the speech and publication that deny this statement, there's no urgency in that. So without wasting any time, let me restate our stand, which is we believe that we believe that the public should know the bitter truth instead of lies, because we know that we not denying that only because we deny that man-made is the only one that conduct to the climate change. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, opposition leader. I'd like to call upon the deputy prime minister. Here. Are you talking? I can't listen to anything. Uh, Yusin, can you listen what she's speaking?
No, we cannot listen.
Yeah. All right. So KMPK, I assume Clarissa has left. We will give her 3 minutes to get back into the meeting, or else the next speaker has to Iron Man and speak on her behalf. Right?
Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. A very good morning to the members of the floor educators. Today I will start my speech by first doing my rebuttals and then my arguments for today's motion. Now I would like to start my rebuttals again lead opposition. Where lead opposition just now asked for a solid mechanism on how this house today, how the government side will be enforcing this mandate. Now for government sides, I'm sorry that Prime Minister has not said our model world yet, but for today's model world, we will be as we will put censorships on materials that contain uh, that contain that contain views that deny man-made climate change. Not only that, but we will also find individuals who distribute such materials. This fine will then be put into efforts to conserve the environment. And lastly, we will give incentives to those who report the materials being distributed to encourage the publics to report against those who distribute the materials. And now I will move on towards my rebuttals towards lead opposition's arguments. First, lead opposition said, but how by banning the publications will we avoid misinformation? Well, I think my prime minister has clearly stated, when we deny that climate change is man-made, we will spread misinformation to the public. By spreading this misinformation that climate change is also affected by man, we are telling the public that it is okay for them to go on and continue to do things that will affect our climate. Not only that, but side opposition also said that climate change is not responsible by man-made. Well, I would like to a bit to side opposition. What about the scientific evidence and research that has clearly shown that climate change is affected by man-made actions? Side oppositions has failed to look at the research and the facts that we have today in today's world, that man-made actions has contributed towards climate change. Not only that, but side opposition has also said in her argument that climate change is not only because of humans actions, but also from volcanic eruptions. Now I would like to ask side oppositions, do you guys not understand that today's motion is this house will ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change? We as side government do not deny that there are natural disasters that cause climate change. But to deny the fact that climate change itself is not man-made is extremely harmful towards the public. And this, I will bring this into my argument for today, which is by saying that climate change is not caused by man-made actions, we will create a false sense of security towards the general public. We are not informing them how their actions contribute towards man-made, how their actions contribute towards climate change. Climate change, as we know itself, will cause towards detrimental of the society as a whole. When we lie to them and say that climate change is not caused by man-made, we are creating a false sense of security. Not only that, but this climate denialism, we call it today, our term for today, will create doubt in society. And when we create doubt in society, we as a society in general, we are able to see many types of materials. If we do not ban these materials that says clearly that climate change is caused by man-made, as those who are in the general population are able to access these materials, they are able to create doubt within themselves. They will ask themselves, is it true that climate change is not made by man-made? And then this will cause in the reduction of policies being made to combat climate change. Now, as a general public, now as a whole, we can see that the general population makes up a huge amount of voters. If these voters do not believe that man-made, that climate change is not man-made, then of course they will not put an importance towards policies that help combat climate change. They will not vote for politicians who are fighting against climate change that are clearly man-made. If we do, for example, I would like to give an example. If a politician were to say that they want to combat climate change by reducing the amount of factories, by increasing the public transportation, voters will look at this and say, what has that got to do with me? Because they have access to materials that says the opposites. They create a doubt within themselves and they will not vote for these politicians. This in itself will be detrimental to humans, to the society, because we are not actively combating climate change. We on site government do not deny that that natural disasters also contribute to climate change, but we are saying to deny wholeheartedly that man-made actions are not contributing to climate change is extremely dangerous, because by doing so we are putting doubt into our voters. We are not going to be getting policies that are going to actively combat climate change. If we are just going to sit around and wait for policies against volcanoes, nothing will be done towards climate change. We will keep on doing whatever we are doing currently. The pollution in humans will keep on increasing until at one point the earth can no longer hold humans. We can no longer repress climate change and extinction will start to happen. Now, this is, of course, a very serious side effect. And this is why my Prime Minister has said already, by banning all materials that deny man-made climate change, we will help stop the misinformation that climate change is not caused by man-made actions. I want side opposition to understand today that we are not saying that uh, natural disasters does not contribute to climate change, but we are saying that to deny that we as humans have a role in climate change is extremely dangerous, because this will put into place doubts into the minds of people, and then this would lead to decrease in policies where we can help combat this effectively. So that is why today in our model world, by banning the publication of this, by banning the publication of this of denying man-made climate change, when we put fines onto the individuals that distribute these items, we can use that fines into actions that will help conserve our environment. Not only that, but it can also be put into incentives for those who report against this kind of individuals. And this, I think, will actively help combat climate change and make people be more aware about what their actions are doing towards the climate. So that is why, as government today, I wholeheartedly support today's motion, which is this House will ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the speech, DPM. I'd like to call upon the Deputy Opposition Leader. Here.
Am I audible?
I'm getting echoes.
Sorry. Am I audible again?
Better, but it's slightly blurry.
Let me just. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, better, much
Is it
better.
better? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning to members of the floor, educators, and everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are actually debating about the motion, which is this House would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. All right. Before moving on to my first point and second point, and also recapping some of the points given by my leader of opposition, I would like to rebut some of the points given by the Prime Minister and also Deputy Prime Minister of the government. All right, so the Deputy Prime Minister has tried to tell us that we, the opposition side, need to understand that today's motion is about that they do not deny natural disaster as one of the factors to climate change, but we need to understand that humans are the most are actually giving impact to the climate change and what's on. All right. So what we as the opposition side are trying to tell is that natural disaster, that climate change also actually occurs because of human, yes, but it is not that. It is not that major. Major causes of climate change are actually because of the nature itself, but human only cause minor of them. All right. So
POI.
No. All right. So okay. So moving on to my first point, which is why we don't want to ban any speech and publication denying this man-made climate change is because we want to increase awareness about the causes of the climate change itself to the public. All right. So we believe that by actually not banning the speech and publication denying the man-made climate change, we can actually try to give much more information to the public on what actually causes the climate change itself, other than the human itself. Because we know that if there is cause of something, if there is something that happened, that would not be only one cause, because there would be many causes of them. All right. So what we are trying to say is that natural disasters and also natural causes are one of the factors that are actually in the climate change. All right. So okay, why are we actually trying to increase this awareness? Because we want to increase the awareness to the public, because at least if the public knows that they are not the one who is worsening the condition of the earth, they can actually, in a way, they can help. They can do what they can within the authorities to help the nature itself to stop the climate change, or to make the climate change itself better. All right.
Yeah, I
So no. All right. So that relates to our stance, which is that we believe that people should know bitter truth instead of lie. Right. So the bitter truth uh, is that the nature is the one who is causing the climate change, but we as the humans are actually not as the major factor of the climate change itself. All right. Because we know that we have seen articles that are saying about how it actually the cars are contributing to the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and what's on. But we believe that the humans are actually, we as the humans, we actually care about our earth. All right, we care about our earth. So we have actually done so many things to actually combat with the climate change that are happening, that our humans are doing. By we have so many new technologies and mechanism that we actually did to combat
POI.
the climate change that we have done by the humans. All right. Yes.
Okay, so are you saying that with all the carbon footprint that we've
Okay,
produced
thank you.
from
All right, thank you. Okay, so with that, I believe
even
that we the opposition side believe that the public should know the bitter truth instead of the lie, and with that we stand strong with the not with denying this motion, which is this house would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, DOL. We will resume the debate with the government whip. Here.
am I audible?
Can you speak again? I think your line is breaking.
Hello, am I
Is it
audible?
using him? Um, can you try speaking again, government whip? Opposition, can you hear the whip speaking? Please respond. Yeah, we can't hear the government whip.
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Right?
Okay. So my speech starts in 3, 2, 1. A very good morning to the adjudicator, the precise and acute timekeeper, and fellow members of the floor. So the government's prime minister has stated this current debate's motion, as well as the burden, as well as the model, and as well as present the first point. The second minister has given the second and third point, as well as refute any claims made by the Honorable First Minister of the Opposition. And today I will be summarizing the points given by my government side, as well as refute all the points given by the First and Second Minister of the Honorable Opposition side. So to start off with the Prime Minister's rebuttals. So she has gone on and on about the detriment of volcanoes and like other natural sources being the contributions for climate change. But in actuality, the contributions from natural phenomena is at least negligible compared to how much damage humans have caused towards the last century. In fact, there has been statistics shown that humans have caused much more damage than nature has in the course of a few thousand years already. So that is to see how much scale we've caused by how much advancement from the advancement that we've made. And again, the publications that we're circulating, we can simply filter and censor the publications that are simply just falsehoods. They're just spouting nonsense. They're not providing to any actual scientific claims. And that in and of itself would help us better understand that we are most certainly a problem for climate change. And next to that, they have said that the publications don't necessarily contribute to people believing the science behind said articles. But you have to understand that people base their information based on these articles, and it serves as a proof of source for them, which cements their logic. Because if we allow these articles to exist, it means that it serves as proof for these people to believe that this is actually a real thing, that we do not actually contribute to man-made climate change. And again, to rectify the whole claim, we are again not denying on the whole the notion of like natural phenomena being a cause of climate change, but we are most certainly banning the publications and speeches denoting to claims of man-made climate change. So moving on to the deputy minister's rebuttals. So she has another thing with her points is that she's gone on a tangent about how other causes of climate change is the main what do you call it? The main cause for climate change. But again, the point of this debate is not about which one is at fault. It's more about which one. It's more about are we benefiting from the banning of man-made materials and publications that deny man-made climate change. So at this rate, you could count the Deputy Prime Minister's points as somewhat invalid and irrelevant. And moving on to my team's case, so the Prime Minister has gone on to say that we are, by doing this, we are stopping the spread of misinformation. And by doing so, it will stop people from believing that we have no part in climate change. It will make people to believe that we are indeed a problem in climate change, and it actually will implement change that they will make the world a better place, for one thing. And so moving on to the Deputy Prime Minister's points. So like she said, like she has mentioned, it creates a false sense of security to the general public. It creates a narrative that we are absolutely not the problem, that we can continue on without any consequence, that the world would still be the same even after everything that we've done. And society just lives in absolute blissful ignorance because we just do not know that we are being a problem with the transportation that we use, the things that we do in our daily lives, certain power plants that generate massive carbon emissions, and so on. And because that side opposition has not, again, given any certifiable way to remove any doubts, and we let these articles exist, it will create a split in between society, between those who trust these misinformed creants, who think that who take these things as facts and truth, and those who actually believe the science that have been done by certified professionals that are very much aligned with their work. And moving on to the lead in terms of politicians who will fight for climate change policies. If we happen to go through with this motion and allow the banning of certain materials and censoring them, we will at least be able to inform the public that they're making the right decision, and that certain politicians that do enforce these climate change policies will in fact implement the change, will make for a better world. But if we don't, we would have killed all the progress of combating climate change throughout the century. We would have gone back a few hundred years just because we haven't just because we have people who believe certain things like these. So I truly believe that this motion should be allowed to pass, and that's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Government Whip. I'd like to call upon the Opposition Whip. Here.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, clear.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning to the adjudicators, the timekeepers, the members of the floor, ladies and gentlemen. So today's motion are about the House would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. So we, as the opposition sides, truly disagree with this motion, align with our stance that public needs to know the truth instead of the lie. I would like to point out the witnesses coming from the government side. So first thing first, the Prime Minister has failed to tell us about their mechanism and she failed to explain her point well. Like we didn't truly understand what they are trying to say about the misinformation to the public, and the mechanism only came from the deputy prime minister, and which she said about the censorship, and they want to fight about they want to fight the individual who did the speech and the publication. Even she gave the mechanism. We still didn't know and understand how it will work in order to ban this speech and publication from spreading. Like how are you gonna do the censorship, and how are you gonna fight the individual who did this speech and publication? Like what if the one who did the publication and speech are using an anonymous account or wearing a mask? So how are you going to detect these people? And they surely have their tactic in order to hide from the censorship or anything. So the government side didn't really tell us how are they gonna ban this speech and publication. Uh, and they say about how it will make people not contribute to the politician uh, who want to fight for the climate change. But even without banning this without banning the denying man-made climate change, humans are still adapting and still combating with this climate change. For example, there is new refrigerators and cars that emerge less carbon dioxide and chloro CFC. And we are, even without banning this uh, speech and publication, humans are still adapting and improving themselves in order to save themselves from the climate change. Like even Japan is currently doing a pod to save their citizens from the earthquake that they always face. So there is no urgency for us to ban the denying man-made climate change speech and publication, because by by
Yeah,
this no thank you. By this effort, this denying man-made communication, it will make people and the societies know that the climate change is not solely about because of the man-made. Because if you are banning this man-made climate change, people will only think, oh, the human did that, the human did that. But then they will forget about the climate change that occurs not because of the human itself. That's like volcanic eruption and the sun intensities. So, and
POI.
this is why we want to say that no, by not banning this publication and speech, it will increase awareness about the cause of the climate change. So people will know both causes about the climate change. Not only they will not blaming the human itself only. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Opposition Whip. I'd like to call upon the Opposition Reply Speaker to close the case for the Opposition bench. Here, here. I'm hearing echoes.
Are you hearing it now?
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
hearing the echo.
Okay, wait
I can hear my own voice.
Sorry. Okay, there's no echo, right?
Yeah, better.
Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, for today's debate, we, the opposition side, didn't see any urgency for the government side to ban any speech and publication that deny man-made climate change. First of all, we, the opposition side, we see that this speech and publication is a medium for the for the for them who have the knowledge about the climate change to spread their knowledge in order to give the awareness to the society. This awareness are include by not on by how they can combat this problem by not only thinking that the man itself is the one who contribute a lot to the climate change, because denying the man-made climate change is not mean that is not mean that there's other people who not believe that this is man-made. This is other perspective that helps the people to think that we can see another perspective to improvise and actually combat the climate change to the fullest. Since it shows that we can have a double effort in order to help this motion to help this problem in the future. Since we, the opposition side, did not want to ban any speech and publication that deny the man-made climate change, because we believe that our best case scenario, we can see that how other people opinion could help in order for the research on how to for on how the authorities can combat this problem to be maximized. But our worst case scenario would be other people can see that, oh, there's other things that happen that's not only human that contribute to the climate change itself. But I don't think that is a big issue, since our worst case scenario is much more better than the government best case scenario. So the government flaws here that the government flaw here that their mechanism is not well structured, since how can they know that the censorship work with will work well in order to see that this speech and publication is denying the man-made climate change? How can they ensure that there's no other things like there's no corruption in the system that can actually leak the speech and the publication that deny the man-made climate change itself? So by that, the problems about by the end of the day, the issue that came through with this motion are not being solved. So we, from the opposition side, truly believe that this motion should not go through, since we see that we better try the truth beside telling the lies. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for the speech. I'd like to call upon the reply speaker from government bench to close the debate. Here. Are you talking? No, I'm not hearing anything. I'm still not hearing anything. No, I'm not hearing anything. Opposition, are you hearing?
No, we are not heard anything.
I see. Okay, so we will use the 3-minute rule. If Clarissa doesn't make it, then the PM has to do the reply speech.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's my internet. Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of the floor, today, side opposition has said the public needs to know the truth instead of lie, and yet side opposition is against today's motion, which is this House will ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. Now, side oppositions need to realize that climate change itself is caused by man-made actions. By opposing today's debate and telling us today that the public needs to know the truth instead of the lie, side opposition is essentially running the government's argument. Now, we can see that climate change is due to man-made actions. With side opposition wishes to tell the public the truth and instead of a lie, then they will have to oppose today's debate. They are opposing today's debate will be contradictory because in its truth, climate change is caused by man-made actions. I would like to break down what side opposition has said today. In today's debate, they have not given us any strong arguments as to why we should reject today's motion, which is this House will ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. They are simply telling us that there are other causes for climate change, not only man-made actions. But this is not the fiat of today's debate, ladies and gentlemen. The fiat of today's debate is to prove to us why we should ban climate change by having materials that deny that man-made actions by having materials that deny that man-made actions causes climate change. This will create chaos, a false sense of security. This will decrease in policies of having policies of combating climate change because the public in itself simply denies that their own actions does not bring upon climate change. By having materials like this, the public, as my third speaker has already said, will use this as materials, will use this as evidence to support their claims that climate change is not caused by humans. So if we are not going to ban any of this one, we are essentially telling a lie, which this opposition today has simply said that the public needs to know the truth, but the public needs to know the truth instead of a lie, but they support speech and publication that deny man-made climate change, which is simply false because side opposition itself has already told onto their self. I think their arguments today are very contradictory. They have told that man-made climate change is real, but natural disasters also occur. So they did not reject the idea that climate change is caused by man-made, but they also support the they also oppose to this motion, which I do not understand why they will oppose to this motion if they wish for the public to know the truth. Because the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that climate change is caused by human action. It is man-made. And then I also like to say that side opposition today has said that our mechanism would not work because what if they are anonymous and how would this censorship work? Well, I've already clearly said in my model world we would have filters as in social media. When you say the word vaccine as for example on Instagram, then the COVID-19 vaccine will immediately pop up. These kind of filters are put into place into our model world so that we can actively remove such content and help ban and therefore help ban such content going out into the mass public. And then not only that, but side opposition has also bring out, what about those who are anonymous? Well, we have already said in our model world that we will give incentives to those who write out basically people who are distributing such materials. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, today I wholeheartedly agree that this House will ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for the debate. So I will have my deliberation. But before you all leave, I have an announcement to make.